Thanks for joining Solicited, a podcast hosted by me, Caitlin,
And me, Nichole.
where we discuss all the things related to being a 30-something millennial.
So, Caitlin, let me tell you how I know I'm aging. I'm getting older, more mature, more evolved. So let me tell you how I know that I'm adulting this week. Have you ever gotten just like an old age injury? Like not an injury that was a result of exertion or physical exercise.
Like you turned wrong and your whole body hurts, like that kind of an injury.
Yeah.
Yes. Did I not just tell you that I did that not that long ago?
I don't know, but let me tell you, you're going to have to tell me. Let me tell you what happened. I woke up Sunday morning. I, I felt like I slept okay. I had so much neck pain. I could not turn my neck to the left or right without like excruciating pain. I got in the grocery store. In a panic, I bought BioFreeze and applied it in the grocery store.
You didn't. Oh my gosh, that's like I cannot stand when people like give their like eat in the grocery store as they're doing things. Like it just I think that's the germaphobe in me, but I'm just picturing you inside of what? What grocery store do you shop at?
It's King Soopers, owned by Kroger. So it's like a
So
Kroger.
you're in King Supers rubbing BioFreeze on your neck. Oh my gosh, Nichole.
like the rolly one too. So I'm just like rolling it on my neck. It's like getting on my sweater. It was a real thing. And it felt like nerve level pain over just like sleeping. I got like 10 hours of sleep. It was fine. I woke up with this crazy neck pain. And it still has not totally gone away. So I don't know what that means. I also have like a special like neck pillow. So clearly that's not working.
Have you been stressed this week?
Yeah, but that's post neck pain. I wasn't stressed leading up to the neck pain.
Have you ever been to a chiropractor?
Yes, but okay. I have let my chiropractor adjust my neck like once. I really won't let a chiropractor adjust my neck.
Are you just like scared to like
We should all be scared. Yeah, you really shouldn't do that.
I love the chiropractor, so adjust any part of my body, I don't mind. And especially because sometimes it's insane like how much tension, especially you sit at work, right? Like so
Mm-hmm.
you sit your shoulders, like your neck, like looking down, looking at a computer, doing different things. Like I love the chiropractor. Adjust my neck, adjust my back, definitely adjust my hips because when I was pregnant, oh my Lanta, like no.
Oh yeah, like there was a period of my life where I was so anti chiropractor, and then I got like a pre old age injury where just like out of nowhere I couldn't bend past 45 degrees, like legitimately, and I like could hardly get out of bed for like months. And then finally I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this chiropractor a try. And it took one adjustment of the SI joint one time. And I was like, oh my God, I could like pull my boots on standing up, which was not something I could do because of just like the weird angle. So I swear by that my chiropractor, I just think the neck is really fragile. And I've been told like as you get older and you get like plaque buildup from lifestyle, that if you adjust it, it can, I guess, release plaque into your brain. And that's how people have like strokes. When you hear of people like getting adjusted and then having like these crazy neurological outcomes, it's likely because of that, like aneurysms.
Hmm. Well, one of Mike's best friends is a chiropractor, so I want to pick his brain on this.
Yeah.
We'll have to circle back. Well, Matt, we might have to have him as a guest on the pod. So
This is also how you know you're getting older, where you're like, my chiropractor.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so my story about this was just like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'm sitting on the floor with Milo and I lean over to try and get up before like picking him up. And I seriously just like pushed my hands to the side to like roll over onto all fours to stand up. And I pulled a muscle in my stomach. And I was in actual pain for weeks, actually, weeks after this. And Yeah, I'm not kidding.
You pulled a muscle from getting up off the floor?
I wish I was joking. I like leaned to the side and immediately was like a dagger in your stomach and I was like, "What the hell did I just do? Oh my gosh." And then I was talking to one of my doctors that I see about it and they're like, "Oh yeah, like you just gave birth." It also made me realize like my core is weak. Like I have a really weak core. And so anyway, I'm trying to figure all that out now. Post injury because it hurt for a good 2.5, 3 weeks. It was not fun. And also, I'm lugging around a 17-pound baby with a pulled stomach muscle. And you don't realize, like, you hit. I can't. You're old. I need to figure that stuff out.
It's incredible. I can't even believe that.
I can't wait for you to experience this all someday. And then you're going to tell
Mm.
me and be like, remember that time you pulled your stomach and, you're 32 years old, stomach muscle? Mike, actually, when we first started dating, he was leaning over to tie his shoes and threw his back out. No joke. Like 30 years old. He was 30 years old and he threw his back out by trying to put on his shoes and tie his shoes. And I'll never forget, he texted or called me and was like, I screwed up my back. And I was like, what? Like, what were you doing? Like, it wasn't some cool, epic story. It was, I'm trying to tie my shoes. So,
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I once also had a weird tweak in my neck from looking at my computer screen at work wrong. Like I was sitting there looking at it fine 1 second, turned my head, did something weird, and just like pain shot down my neck, and I was like nursing it all day. So yeah, just the weird shit you do. The body is a little bit fragile.
I mean, it really is, honestly. So, crazy. Absolutely crazy. So today's episode is going to be about pet peeves. And as a teacher, I had to look up and be specific on what the definition of a pet peeve is. So, my good friend Google, the Oxford Dictionary, says that a pet peeve is something that a particular person finds especially annoying. And
Mm.
while I have a million pet peeves, I've realized
Mm.
as we've started this podcast episode, Nichole, I'm going to start with you. What's your biggest pet peeve?
I will say I have pet peeves for every arena of life. Like I could probably talk for 35 minutes just about my pet peeves at work. But generally the one that gets to me the most, which is just like a general life pet peeve, is when you're driving in your car and you're at a red light and then the light turns green, but then the car in front of you doesn't accelerate. I get like physical anxiety symptoms over this. The other reason I get physical anxiety symptoms over this is because Colorado is known for road rage. There's like more instances of road rage in Colorado than like almost any other state. And yes, I've actually had multiple instances of people having road rage with me on the road. And I have mild road rage, but I would never like chase somebody down in my car or do something crazy. Um,
That's
but
scary.
So I feel like every time this happens, I also have to be very strategic about when I choose to honk because I'm gonna fucking honk. But I feel like people have a short fuse out here. So
That's a good one. Mike always gives me a hard time because I don't honk at people a lot of times. If we're sitting and it's like a good couple seconds, then I'll honk. But um I think drivers everywhere, there's so many distractions now that if you're at a red light, people everywhere are on their phones. They're checking their phones. They're changing their music. They're changing to listen to their podcast. They're turned around talking to their baby. They might be eating a little sticky snack in their car, like, and just not paying attention. But I feel you on that 100%. That's a definite pet peeve of mine too, but I'm guilty. It's happened where I'm the person that people get annoyed at. So
Well, same, of course, but here's the difference between me and these fucking jabronis that sit at the fucking green light all righteous. Is if you honk at me, I am genuinely appalled at my behavior that I've delayed our movement through the green light, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, and I'm like waving in the mirror, and I'm like, letting everybody know how apologetic I am. These fucking people that sit there, you honk. I even will do like a nice like pre-honk honk, like a little boop. And then
Like
if
a
they
little
still don't
tap.
fucking move, yes, and then if they still don't fucking move, I'm laying on the horn. And these people will act like you've just insulted their first son. They get so fucking pissed that you've honked at them to alert them of the green light, and then they still don't go. And then some people, and now I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sorry, but that's how heated this gets me. And then some people are so incensed by you honking at them that they sit there pissed off all the way through the green light. And then they're the only ones that get to go. And then we're all stuck at the fucking red light again. So I can't with it. It's very inconsiderate.
I also think it's very funny because I've had the opposite happen where they are so embarrassed that you caught them and then they take off. They're like a
That's me.
bullet. They're like they don't want anybody to get their license plate or see them, and they're like keep going. So that's so funny.
What is your pet peeve? Your biggest pet peeve?
Well, Nichole, I've realized as we've been talking about doing this episode and talking to Mike about it, he said there's definitely too many for me to count. And joking, but I've realized I'm in my mom era and my germaphobe era, and I was a teacher for 10 years. And over the years, I've just gotten pretty particular about some things. So I went to Fiji in I think 2017, 2018, around that time frame, and I adopted this no shoes in the house rule because we in Fiji, before we entered this building every day, you had to take your shoes off and leave them outside. And I was like, what? This is kind of frustrating. And then I was thinking about it and I was like, oh my gosh, you are in public bathrooms, grocery stores, disgusting stuff outside all the time. And now my biggest pet peeve is my husband wears his dang tennis shoes in the house all the time. He'll walk across the house and I know where his shoes have been. He has like different pairs of shoes and I'm like, you wear those ones all the time. Those are your yard work ones. We have animals and critters and things walking through our yard. I mean, you have dogs. Like I just I've realized I'm super germaphobe about it. Now, and also, a lot of my friends are going to listen to this podcast. Listen, I still love you if you wear your shoes in my house. That's not a problem. I definitely clean after you leave. Don't get me wrong. Well, not after you leave, but like I run my vacuum and do things. But
But let me. So, are you the person where you ding dong somebody's at your door and you're like, oh my god, welcome? We're like we take our shoes off in the house and you make all your
no,
guests take their shoes off.
I'm not. And I think that is just who knows? Maybe when my child's crawling, I might become that person truly and honestly because his hands are in his mouth all the time. And, he's going to be putting his little hands on the ground and whatever. We can cross that bridge when we get there. We got a couple more months, I hope, before that happens. But I'm not also going to make people feel uncomfortable. And I don't know. I'm a house shoe type person. So I told Mike, I bought him a pair of slippers a long time ago. Like, these you could wear in the house. And then I also bought him 2 pairs of flip flops. Like, one is for outside, one is for inside. And then he wore his outside ones or inside ones outside. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, sorry. And he just doesn't care about it. And he's come a long, long way. I'm very thankful. He'll forget sometimes, and then before walking into our bedroom, like slip his shoes off in the hallway and go about it. My dream home will have a shoe rack in the garage, so that way we don't have to, you know, have shoes even in the closet, because also like shoes just in general I think are gross. And in an article, they said that 96% of shoes swabbed, like things have E. coli and bacteria and I just can't. I can't.
Well,
So,
well, well. Nothing gets the immune system up like a little E. coli, though, Caitlin.
okay, Nichole, you can have that one. You can have it. So I've realized I'm in my germaphobe era. I mean, I've always been a germaphobe though. Being a teacher, kids are gross. But the shoes thing for me kind of took it to another level. So I'm sorry. That's definitely my biggest pet peeve. And again, friends, don't feel obligated to have to take your shoes off in my home. at least until my child's crawling. We'll talk again.
I believe in setting good boundaries, Caitlin, and telling people exactly what you expect of them. So people, if you come to Caitlin's house, you take your fucking shoes off and you thank her for the invitation.
Or maybe I should be like somebody and buy those little booties so that when people come in, like if you have, like we had
Just
somebody.
shame people. You don't have to take them off, but here are these booties for your disgusting shoes.
Well, I think about it because when we have people, a guy came and like hung a fan for us that we were struggling with, and he put on those little booties, and I was like, oh, I'm really glad he had those and put those on because he was in our bedroom, and our bedroom has carpet, and I'm like, ah. So anyway, tangent.
What is your biggest pet peeve of Mike?
I have to just pick one. No, I'm just kidding. So, I definitely have also realized I have misophonia. For those of you who don't know what
Which
that
is,
is.
we don't know. Caitlin, we don't know. Please get out the Oxford Dictionary again, please.
I got you. It's when people chew, slurp, swallow extra loud, and it causes somebody to have like a reaction, like a very strong reaction to specific sounds. I cannot. And it's eating out with people. I'm usually okay. My dad, I've realized, is probably the reason why I became this way because he is the loudest slurper ever. Dad, if you listen to this episode, I love you, but he just is like, he's a loud eater. He slurps, he chews, he talks with his mouth open. And when Mike slurps something, I think it triggers like from my childhood of my dad doing it. And I'm like, ah! So I can't stand that.
Are you familiar with ASMR?
No.
So if anybody ever needs to get sensitive information out of you, that's the way to torture you. ASMR is like, you can find like hours and hours of videos on YouTube of people making noises. So it's like crinkling paper and like fingers on a chalkboard and like
Stop. That one makes me cringe.
All kinds of like weird like all kinds of like weird sounds that you can make, and some people fucking love it, and for some people it's like super soothing and puts them in like a state of bliss or some bullshit, but for you it sounds like your worst nightmare.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say, I don't even know that I can say that this is my biggest pet peeve of him. Probably my biggest pet peeve of him is that he's such a clean freak and I'm just not. As you already know this. I try. I'm working hard on it. It's a work in progress.
I think that's like a rooted personality trait though. I don't think that's a pet peeve.
Agreed. So let's just go with the fact that I apparently slurp my water loud. It drives Mike insane. Like we'll be laying in bed or in the middle of the night, I'll lean over and I guess I just gulp loud, but I don't really hear it for myself. And sometimes I do hear it for myself and I'm like, I can't, how do you make your gulp quieter? I don't know. I don't know how you do that. So
you're gonna have to practice like speech therapy for gulping.
You know what it is too? I think it's your positioning. So like if you're like leaned over, like you kind of like chop your neck a little bit, and I don't know. Same thing if you're laying down and drinking water. I don't know. So let's talk about your pet peeves. What does Nick do that annoys you?
Okay, so I'm going to answer in two ways. So this used to irritate me. Now it's just funny and quirky. If we go out, but then I am going to tell you a pet peeve that I have. We'll go out to a restaurant and Nick doesn't like leftovers, but he will never like waste the food in front of the server. So he will always ask for a to-go box. And I just like look at him like, so you're going to take that food and throw it away at home, or you're going to take that food and let it sit in the fridge for days and then I'm going to throw it away? And he looks me straight in my face and goes, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So at this point it's just quirky and I'm like, fine. I doesn't want to insult the server, have to answer to why he didn't eat his meal. That's fine. Real pet peeve that has started fights. In the summertime, if we're doing yard work, Nick will insist on walking through the house, like with the leaf blower, with the fucking rake, just to get from the backyard to the front yard. We have side gates, and it just it stresses me out. And I'm not a germaphobe, but I'm like, if you've been mowing the lawn, you have grass on you, so now you're gonna trudge in all the grass and all the shit. And I'm like, why are you bringing outside things inside? It just doesn't make any fucking logical sense. So he and I go round and round about this, specifically in the summertime.
Mike definitely did that in the beginning too, like bringing things through the house. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, same thing. We have side gates. It's crazy. But I have to go back to the leftovers thing. Does he just not like eat leftovers ever?
Not really. There's a couple things we've made some progress. So there's a couple things he will eat leftover, like some pastas. Well, here's the thing you need to know also. One of my strengths is I can reheat anything. Anything I can reheat it to perfection. So I've been able to get him on the leftover train a little bit because I'll bring something home and I'm like, oh, I can heat this up real nice. And if I can, then he'll reheat it. So pasta is an easy one. Pizza, he'll always eat the leftovers.
Is it basically no
Anything,
meat? Meat he doesn't reheat and like
I can't say definitively. Anything fried, anything that has been fried, so like French fries, stuff like that, that is always an easy reheat. But no, he's not really a leftover kind of guy.
that's just really funny to me because Mike and I were talking about that this week and that he does not like chicken reheated. And I mean, I don't really, who really likes chicken reheated? It gets pretty dry. It's not great. And so, but my husband ate your fish leftovers after we went to that restaurant that time. And I'm like, you will eat fish leftovers, but you won't eat chicken leftovers? Well, I don't know. I've come a long way with leftovers, I've realized. But
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's I will at least try to eat almost anything leftover. The things I will not touch leftover is seafood. So if I get like a shrimp something, I will eat all the shrimp out of it and then bring home what's left. So like shrimp pasta, like I will eat the shrimp out of the pasta and then bring the pasta home to reheat. Will not reheat seafood and eggs. So if I go out and something is eggy, like unless it's homemade quiche, I will reheat homemade quiche for days. But if I go to a restaurant, I'm not bringing eggs home.
interesting. Well, what is Nick's biggest pet peeve about you?
It's a really good one. And I don't know if it's embarrassing or not, but you know when you wear something or like a sports bra or a regular bra, like you don't wash those all the time. Or like an undershirt, like I'm wearing an undershirt right now, but you wear it a couple times, right, before you wash it.
Um, Life is different now with the newborn. It depends on how long and, all the things, but I definitely don't wash everything all the time. So, yes, I understand this logic that you're going with.
So where do you put these things that are not clean? Like they shouldn't be folded up and put back in your drawer, but they're not going in the laundry hamper. What do you do with those things?
We have like two little knobs on our closet doors that like kind of open up and I just hang it on the knob on our closet door.
This is a mutually decided upon course of action between you and Mike.
It's a Caitlin just does it and my husband just
Tolerates.
ignores it and tolerates it.
And here is where Nick and Mike diverge. So in our bathroom, we have drawers with knobs on them. And you like take your stuff off to jump in the shower, your stuff's already in the bathroom. It's a marriage match made in heaven, right? Like so you take your sports bra off, your shirt off, you hang it on the bathroom knob. This drives Nick insane. He's been trying to problem solve this for like maybe years, and I just don't care at all. I'm like, this is the way our life is going to be, Nick. Forever, there's going to be sports bras hanging in the bathroom. It drives him up a fucking wall. He sometimes even takes them away, and then I panic and don't know where my undershirts and bras are. But or he'll hang them on like a different knob. I'm not sure why a different knob is better than this knob, but it drives him bananas.
Do you guys have a
Bananas.
spot for like hooks that maybe you could put up that's not like a towel hook, but it can be a bra hook or like a shirt hook?
But then they're going to be like hanging on like the wall. Like at least where they are in the bathroom, like you don't see like I mean you see them, but it's not like the first thing you see. Like where like a towel is like a towel on a towel rack, your eye goes right to it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I could get like a hook someplace else
Even
in our room.
a command strip hook. Like
Yeah. No, 100% for sure. Yeah, I could do that. I
I
just don't care. Nick should do it if it bothers him.
I'm gonna mail you. I'm gonna go on Amazon. I'm gonna send you a command strip hook, and then you're gonna have to hang it so that you can solve this easily.
Hmm.
You,
Okay.
You're
What?
like, yeah, no.
Like, send it to Nick.
Yeah.
Address
Okay,
it
I
to
will.
him.
I'll put Nick.
For
I love
for
it.
Nicole's sweaty sports bras. What's Mike's biggest pet peeve of yours that you do?
Definitely he's like a little Cinderella behind me sometimes because I don't put things away where they belong all the time. And I definitely think it's gotten worse since having a child because your hands are full, you're busy, you're doing things all day. And then also, I'm the type of person that if I know I'm going to use it later in the same spot, maybe in like 3 hours, I'm not going to clean it up right now. At the end of the night, I will like sometimes clean things up, like and put things back, but it depends on the
Sometimes. See, this is the
yeah.
crux of the problem.
Yes. Yeah. It just listen, we are very different. I have come so far in putting things away, doing different things. But my husband is definitely a neat freak, and I like things neat. I like it. It keeps my anxiety down. But at the same time, sometimes things just happen. So that's probably his biggest pet peeve. And he also hates when people drive slow in the fast lane. He is like Mario Kart and is like, get out of the left lane if you're gonna, go the actual speed limit. He wants to go over the actual speed limit in the left lane. So
People who want to drive the speed limit belong in the right lane or the middle lane. The left lane is for people, rule breakers, rebels, okay? Those are the people that are going above the speed limit. And if you are one of those people who does 65 in the left-hand lane,
yeah, get out the way.
Get out the way. That's unacceptable.
So also I need to point out, mind you, when I asked Mike what his biggest pet peeve was about me, he knew instantly. You don't put things away. Boom, like came out real fast. He didn't have to even think about it, right? But then for the next like 24 to 48 hours, whenever I did something, he was rambling off like, "Oh, that's another pet peeve of mine. Oh, that's another pet peeve of mine. You don't put the pillows back on the couch like where they go." And I'm like, "Sorry, sir, you were only allowed one. Thank you."
I do have a follow-up question also. What is an example of something that you would keep out because you might use again and then not put away that would drive him crazy?
He says that the baby stuff doesn't really bother him. But it's a lot of baby stuff. Or, for example, I've been like meal planning. So I have papers and cookbooks and I like write out what I need and like recipes and like kind of a meal plan list. And so it's on the couch. And we have a huge couch, people. It's on the couch. And then sometimes I move it to the coffee table and then he takes it all and like piles it up and moves it to the top of the TV stand. And then I just move it right back down. And like, it's just like a cycle. And same thing with cups. If I have water with me at all times. So sometimes I have like a going out cup, like my Stanley or my Brewmate, and then I have like my cup for the house that's like a straw with this. And he's like, "You've got so many things everywhere." I know, it's crazy.
That does stress me out when people get multiple cups. You get one cup, you get one house cup, and you need to rinse and reuse. Rinse and reuse. If at any time you're ready to upgrade to a new clean cup, that cup
Goes
gets washed
to the
or in
dishwasher.
the dishwasher, but you can't have two cups out at once. That's like for what? Are you drinking two? Are you double fisting drinks? You're not.
Sometimes I do, and I like having a water in my room prepared for me if I get thirsty while I'm in there, and then I having my water in the living room, but whatever. Yeah, I'll work on it. Sorry, Mike. There's definitely room for improvement. I'll
Let
admit
me
it.
tell, we all have room for improvement.
So I asked our listeners what some of their biggest pet peeves were, and I kind of want to just like riff on some of them. We had a ton of people share out. So thank you so much if you took our little survey on the podcast Instagram survey. So biggest pet peeve, when she leaves shit everywhere. Are you talking to my husband, whoever you are?
Was that Mike?
Maybe. Oh my gosh. Not actively listening. That's a good one.
Here's the thing about that. Yes, and I can be a moody bitch. So there's also times where it's just like I don't like, maybe Nick was actively listening, but maybe he didn't like look at me at the exact moment I needed him to, and then I have a meltdown. But you should like what Caitlin, if somebody's actively listening to you, what does that look like?
That looks like eye contact and responding like on cue, like, oh, that stinks, that like just kind of like bantering in the conversation as you're sharing a story. That is definitely a pet peeve of mine too. I can't stand it when you're trying to be in a conversation and somebody's like on their phone and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, it's so rude. Just like take 3 seconds. Even if I'm on the phone and I'm in the grocery store, I tell my mom, I'm I'm muting you for a minute, and I put her in my pocket and I talk to the grocery store people, because that's another thing that drives me crazy, is like just the disrespect type thing. I don't know. So not actively
Mm-hmm.
listening, super important. Now,
Agreed.
this one is a good one too. It says not prioritizing chores and responsibilities in the house before relax time.
Hang on a second.
I thought you were saying guilty, because that is.
No, I have to organize before I can relax. Like on work from home days, I will go through and like open the blinds and like clean up the pillows and put the dish like so that I can like focus. So I know that very much resonates with me. But I wonder how much of that is like personality versus a real pet peeve.
True. And you know what? Some of these could be personality, and that's just the other thing, is like what's important to you might not be important to somebody else. So I think this is a very interesting, intriguing list. So let's keep on digging deep.
Mm-hmm.
What about, when they don't help out around the house, hand in hand with that, chores, responsibilities, impulsiveness. Ooh,
Ooh, say more. What does that mean?
I definitely want to know what that means. But like maybe saying yes to something and then being like, "Ooh, I really don't want to do that." I don't know.
Yeah, impulsive plan making as a partner, that's terrible.
Hey, by the way, we're going to dinner with so and so on Thursday. Like that kind of stuff.
No. I'm like impulse. What else could that? I don't even like, or like your partner comes home and it's like, guess what? We're going to Alaska in July. And you're like, what? I
My
mean,
my mom does that kind of stuff to my poor dad, but I don't think he minds too much. Um, so this goes kind of hand in hand with that one. It says communication on him going out or plans he's made with friends. Boom. I think enough said on that one, because you just basically said it about the like communicate. That is the biggest thing that everyone was talking about on fighting on the survey, is that communication was more than 50% of spouses, partners issues. So that's a good one.
it is a pretty good one.
Okay, all the noises he makes. That's a good one. Uh,
This is validating real fast because I think it was last episode that I said that sometimes I get mad at Nick just for like chewing too loud.
misophonia.
But yeah, you know what? It's not me. It is him. He is chewing too loud. Because I think I said maybe I was being oversensitive. But no, I wasn't. It was him.
Let's talk about this one. When he doesn't close the cabinet drawers, or the beard and chest hair all over the bathroom floor, and and when he goes too long without showering. Like that's a couple right there in a row. That is just like bam, bam, bam.
I just have a lot of questions
Like
about the
what's too
beard.
long? I want to know about the showering. Like what's too long without showering? I shower probably every day.
Well, I recently learned not all guys shower daily, and I find that crazy pants. That is not a pet peeve I have of my husband. He showers maybe too much, but I can't imagine. Can you imagine not showering daily? Don't you feel gross? How do you get in your bed like that? That would be a pet peeve. That's a pet peeve. Getting in your bed dirty.
Dirty.
You
I
can't
can't.
do it.
No. No, listen. My husband, when we got COVID, the first time, this was July of 2020, hot off the press, he came home from going out to dinner for the first time with friends and seeing people, and then didn't shower when he got home. Boom. And I'm not like COVID, sick. Also, like just germs in my bed after you've been out. Like that's the germaphobe in me. No, ma'am.
Like occasionally, if I showered at like 6 o'clock and then Nick and I went and did like one thing, I might not shower again before bed. But if you go to a bar and you come home and you get in your bed without showering, you're
Yeah, no.
ridiculous. How?
Yeah. No, Mike, I will not lie. This is usually not an issue for us. He's come a long way. He's like, he'll look at me and be like, do I have to shower? And I just make a face and I'm like, you know the answer to this. So then he'll just go quickly shower and it has helped. I just like feeling clean in my own sheets. So,
Let me ask you this. If
mhm,
you do you rewear your pajamas for a couple of nights?
I do.
So if you wash your sheets or you change your sheets, do you have to put on new pajamas?
Oh yeah, fresh. Duh. Cannot do that. For sure.
Love this.
Okay, let's keep going through some of these. So he doesn't close cabinet drawers, leaving his clothes in the washer or dryer for days. Thank God my husband does not do that. He is so
Nick
good.
Nick does do that, and to the point where he'll leave them in there so long that he has to rewash them.
Oh no, that is not Mike. He is honey, I hope you're listening to this podcast right now because I'm going to toot your horn. Toot toot. He is like the laundry king. He does most of our laundry and he doesn't like when his shirts get wrinkly. So he is like the type of person that fluffs the laundry and then brings it in, folds it like right then and there. Me, I could care two.
Wow.
No, nope. Do not care.
That's
Um,
impressive.
yeah, I won't lie. Another person said that just throwing stuff on the ground like clothes, spending too much time on social media or their phone. That's a good one. Disorganization in areas with clearly known or labeled spots. That is
Say
funny.
more. So is that like
That's probably like here's the socks, put the socks away. Here's the the counter spray, put it back in the container where the counter spray goes. That's if maybe this was Mike. No, I'm just because the other one it says or nail biting. That's another one.
I don't bite my nails, I do rip them off though, which is something I'm doing right now as we have this conversation.
I've come a long way in the germaphobe in me on biting nails.
I mean, it's disgusting. Yeah, we
Yeah.
really shouldn't, but
What about setting dishes in the sink versus the dishwasher?
I'm okay for like a day. But my pet peeve is if I say, "Hey, you've got dishes in the sink," and you say, "I'm going to do them today," and then you don't, now we're going to war, and I will win. So
Again,
it's I
yeah,
don't actually care, but you have to follow through. If you're like, because I don't always do my dishes same day, but then I will go clean the entire kitchen. So then everything, you know what I'm saying? But you can't just leave them in there indefinitely. You either have to wash them or put them in the dishwasher. They don't just live in the sink. Where do you would
yeah. What? So someone else said, unfinished tasks is one of their biggest pet peeves, and that goes kind of hand in hand with that because if you put your dishes in the sink, I almost feel like it's a game of like, are you going to put them in the dishwasher for me, or am I going to have to be the one to do it? And we're pretty well. Mike is definitely, you know what it is. I just realized that my husband is better at chores in general, and you know what? Maybe it's because he was an only child. I, had siblings. I don't even remember all the chores that we did as a kid, but I don't know. There's just certain things I think it's more of a personality trait like what you were saying.
I think so too, because me and my sister grew up in the same household, and I'm much more, at least growing up, my sister is like clean and organized now, but like growing up, I was much more like clean and organized, and she was messy.
Oh,
So I
I
think it
am
just is more personality.
I so I got a couple more for you. What about when my husband chews with his mouth open? Mess, it triggers this person's anxiety. That's okay. You and my husband could be besties.
But like what level of mess? Because the type A bullshit I'm not into. Like your house should be like your sanctuary. You do get some permission to be dirty and like not your always your best self. But so like I need to know like the level. I need a picture of what is a mess to you.
See, I think that's why I struggle so much with this with Mike is because your house is for you to live in. Like you are supposed to live in your house. It does not have to look like a magazine for anybody. And like I want people to come to my house and know that I'm not perfect because by no means am I any way trying to pretend to be perfect. So, I think that's a good thing. It's like a you have a take a picture of what is mess appropriate for you. I want to know this. If you guys got to leave in the comments of what kind of mess triggers your anxiety. Is it dishes in the sink? Is it stuff out on the counter? Is it piles of mail? What
Mm.
is it? Tell me. I want to know.
And for me too, it also just super depends on my mood. Like some days I could walk in the house and it could actually be a mess and it just like not get to me. But if I'm already feeling overwhelmed or out of control, if I walk into my house and my house feels out of control, then it's like we have to get something under control. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a good one. Um, okay, so there's a couple more I wanted to share on this one before I move to what's your partner's pet peeve. Well, another thing that someone shared was that when he commits to something with his family without checking with our family calendar or children's comfort levels, like that, I think that's important. Mike and I are pretty good about communicating that, and you guys don't really have that huge of an issue because your family's all out of state. I feel like this is probably someone local trying to deal with that.
But in the same vein, if your parent-in-law communicates with their child, aka your husband, hey, we want to come for Easter, and your husband goes, great, see you in April, and then April rolls around and your husband goes, oh yeah, by the way, my parents are going to be in town next weekend, and you're like, what? That would be a problem.
Oh, 100%. Not okay. 10 out of 10. Do not recommend doing that. World War
Don't
III
do
would
that.
happen. Yeah. Um, so another thing is procrastination or sugarcoating. So these are all really good things. And I could tell that there was like a mix of men and women that definitely responded to this because there's funny ones that people have shared and you can kind of tell it's more a guy than a girl, like a pet peeve, the amount of times that this person golfs, that made me laugh. So that's their partner's pet peeve.
Clearly that was a man's pet peeve of his wife.
Yeah. um Go ahead.
Also, wait, what was the one that you just said a second ago before the golfing one?
Procrastinating or sugarcoating.
Sugarcoating. I wonder if that's actually like beating around the bush.
Yeah. I think that goes hand in hand. Um you got something more to say about that? Or keep moving?
I guess I just think about like less about sugarcoating and more about like indecisiveness. If I'm like, we have to make a decision and my person is like lottie dying around about it, then that's going to irritate me. But I guess that is kind of the same now that I'm talking this through. But there's also been times where like it's, oh, whatever you want. And it's like, but I know that that's not true. So then, we have to fight about it. But so I don't know. I guess I'm curious. I guess I'm curious more about what an example of that for that person.
So the people that shared on this survey, this next part, it's something that they do that annoys their significant other. So their significant other's pet peeve of them. And one was not spending enough quality time with them, getting upset over little things, mindless flipping through the phone. We've all been guilty of that. Nagging. I definitely do that sometimes too. Criticizing the other person, not answering when he says something that, so I know he, blah, blah. Hold on.
That is a pet peeve. I know what you're saying.
Let me fix. Sorry, go ahead.
No, this is what it is. Hey, Nick, where did you put the mail?
Crickets.
And that's the fucking response you get. And then you're like, I asked you a question.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have to ask it 3 times.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. So not answering them when he says something so he knows I hear him. Oh, that's a good one, actually. Mike hates when I do that too. Like, even if it's just telling me something like, oh, we got this, and I'm in the middle of something and I didn't immediately respond, he hates that too. Snapping at him when I'm hungry. Ooh, your girl gets hangry. I feel that. I know you can be like that too, so.
I don't think I've ever snapped at Nick. Maybe I'll implement it, though, after this and see how it goes over.
Keep me posted. Keep me posted. This is a really good one. Throwing boxes into the garage for him to break down instead of doing it myself. Mike, another thing. I swear, all these pet peeves that people have shared, these are things that Mike and I talk about in general. So like an Amazon box, I will either put by the door to go out to the garage, or I've gotten better. I've broken a lot more down than I have in the first couple years of our
Wait,
relationship.
you're the culprit in your example? You're the one that doesn't break down the boxes?
No, I didn't write this. Someone else wrote it. I'm just
No,
relating to it. Or you're
but
saying I don't do it.
yes, you
I
don't do
don't.
it's my this would be like the equivalent of Mike's pet peeve of you, that she always just leaves boxes by the door and doesn't break them down.
Okay, well, listen, I'm going to give myself credit. Mike does it probably 70% of the time, and I probably do it 30% of the time.
That's not equitable.
I know. He also like, is the type of person, as soon as we get a package, he's opening it and breaking down boxes and does it. So, whatever.
Are you
Uh,
not? You're not so excited about mail that you're not like busting open the package immediately?
Listen, this was a fight when we started getting Christmas cards because Mike gets the mail every single day. And I've shared this on a previous episode of how it's like his journey outside. Like he likes to go walk to get the mail. It's a couple houses down, whatever. He likes to go get it. And I just let him have that, right? So then he comes in, he throws away all the junk mail, and then he opens the fun mail all the time. And I was like, I want to open the fun mail. So the Christmas cards, he opened like more than half of them that we got. By the way, people, I'm so sorry I didn't send Christmas cards, didn't get around to it, but I love getting Christmas cards and like fun mail in the mail. And so he's come a long way with that. As far as like boxes and stuff, most of the things that I order these days is for my child. And most of the time it's like diapers or wipes or something that is not like, woohoo, it's here in the mail. And I don't know. I get to it when I get to it. So, um, it is what it is.
I hear that, but mail has to be attended to like dishes in the sink.
Well, my husband does that, the mail every and shoot, man, he does the dishes too. I
got dishes and mail.
and laundry. I love him. I'm gonna keep him. Mike, I really hope you listen to this episode because I'm just like loving on
Like,
you.
as you reflect on this,
I
you're
know.
like, hey, he does do a lot of chores. I'm the problem child.
Cue the Taylor Swift song. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Yeah.
It's
So
good.
sorry. I'm so
Has to be
sorry.
somebody in the relationship.
You know,
50-50 chance it's you if you're the one listening to this.
work in progress. That's what I just keep telling him. I'm a work in progress. Okay, nagging him to clean. That's the opposite in our relationship. So that's right on with this. Finishing his sentence or speaking over him. That's a good one.
That is a pet peeve. Sometimes Nick will do that to me and I will get very stern, but he does really good at acknowledging when he does it. But that is really a frustrating experience, whether it's your partner or somebody else, when you're like trying to get a thought out and they're jumping in before you can even finish your fucking thought.
Yeah. So going on with that one, it's somebody said that when I bring up a negative thing about him in public, and then they said, which is totally fair. And this is something that Mike and I know your face, Mike and I talked about this because when we talked last week about biggest fights and like, do we fight in public? This was something that we had to talk about, is that like the nitpicky of like, it's something negative to that person, but it might not be negative to you, and how to not go down that path. If you know it's going to upset your partner, why even bring it up? So it's,
Yeah.
sorry. I just know that you tend to do it around people you're most comfortable with too. So like if we were all hanging out and I was ragging on Mike to you, like I know you would just be like, that's funny, like not a big deal. And he does it the same thing with like his best man and a couple of his best friends. But it still can be frustrating to your partner. So totally fair. Totally agree with this person.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, pretty much not cool. Like, almost 9 times out of 10, not cool. Like, unless your partner has equal relationship with the people you're ragging with, not cool. And also, it's like a one and done. If you're hanging out with these people for 4 hours, you get one. This isn't like a continuous. This is like you get to like poke fun one time. It's something that you like is well known. You don't get to just like come at your person in front of your mutual friends for hours.
It doesn't show a united front, and it's also like not a shit on Caitlin day. Like I can't stand that. Anyway,
no.
So another person shared when they drink too much. Someone said a loaded question that I've never asked him. So I really hope you ask him and you get back to us, please.
What is the question?
That they never asked their partner what their biggest pet peeve was about them.
ask him. Yeah, you'll be
Yeah,
probably
please do.
illuminated by it.
Well, I mean, be careful what you wish for, though, because like I said, I asked Mike, and then for 48 hours easily, he was like, oh, pet peeve. And he just kept naming pet peeves off all day long.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to ask that question, you should probably already have 3 answers yourself, like about the things you think irritate your partner that you already do.
And just
Get
be
ready.
ready for the answers. Yeah, for sure. Another person said that when I'm indecisive, that's yes. How they clean the house, I'm sorry, but if they clean the house, they clean the house. But this goes back to somebody cleans the house differently. So I'm a pickup type person sometimes, but are we talking pickup or are we talking deep clean? Like there's differences. So
You also have to and listen, for 30 years of marriage, no, at some point, you guys have to get on an even playing field. But there is like such a thing as, like showing somebody like what you mean by cleaning the toilet or shower, right? Like you get to do that like a couple times before you just expect that people know what to do.
oh, 100%. And yeah, so what about this? Starting something and not finishing it.
Yes, I am guilty of that, but it also does irritate me, especially if it's something that is a mutual thing. Like we have a due out to someone and you said you were going to do it and then you do not do it.
Well, this goes back. I realize I already brought this up. We talked about this with like the dishes and talking about that.
Yeah,
Leaving
that's
something in
also
the
true.
sink. I have about 3 more I want to share with you.
Okay, let's
So,
run through.
leaving pee in the toilet.
Guilty.
Same, especially overnight. Like I don't like to flush the toilet and I hate when Mike flushes the toilet in the middle of the night for just
Guilty.
going pee
Yeah.
because I'm such a light sleeper. Like don't wake me up. But also I pee so much because I drink so much water. I'm like, I'm trying to save us some money by not flushing 100 times a day.
Also, the whales, guys. Come on.
Don't you guys remember the song? The little saying, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown,
If it's
flush it
brown,
down.
flush it down.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Come on, people. But
Just because we're
also,
in a developed nation doesn't mean we can't do our part.
yeah. Well, anyway, that makes me really laugh. That person's pet peeve. Um, Another one said that waking up and immediately starting to do something like cleaning or exercising, and it makes their partner feel guilty when they sleep in, because one's a morning person and one's a night owl.
Well, let me flip that. That person who feels guilty should probably just talk to their partner about it. Because here's the thing: sometimes on the weekends, I let Nick sleep, and I love it because then I get things done without his distraction for a couple of hours. And so that I don't want Nick to feel guilty about it. I love it. I almost feel guilty not waking him up because I'm like, well, does he want to sleep this long? Is he wasting the day away? But I personally, he shouldn't feel guilty. I love it. I got a couple hours to do some bullshit that I need to do without him
Yeah, I think
lovingly distracting me. Yeah.
that specific example goes back to that more than 50% of partners' issues is communication, and that you just say, I would like to sleep in on Saturday. I don't mind if you don't, like, having a conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one I wanted to share is ignoring him. So, especially when they bring work home or they use social media reels as an escape. And also consistently, this person said that they leave cabinet doors open and they don't realize that they do it, but their partner doesn't complain about it. So that goes back to you sharing last week about how they do something and you just it doesn't have to be a fight and you just handle it with the
Just
cabinet
close
doors.
the cabinet door and move the fuck on.
Yes,
It's fine.
exactly. Same thing.
Also,
just flush the toilet and chill.
which is what Nick does. He's like, I told you I hate this. He flushes and it drives me bananas. He'll flush it and then go use the toilet and then flush it again. And I'm like, all my hard work, the whales.
Sorry.
But here's the thing. It's better than us arguing about it. I get my glory of feeling so righteous. And then he's like, you're a disgusting pig. And then he flushes the toilet. So it's a win-win.
Let's go circle back on the social media and like reels and ignoring him, because I think that this is a real problem in couples right now and just in general, of being on their phones and not spending time together.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that this is a lot of people do this, and then you lose out on connection with your significant other. And I mean, being on people's phones, I don't like hanging out with friends. And if you're hanging out with friends and they're scrolling and they're doing something, it drives me crazy. And honestly, I even hate it when you're spending time with family, friends, whoever, and you're like, hello, we just came into town and you're scrolling on your phone. Like, put your phone down. It's not important. Like, what people are doing on Facebook or Instagram, like, be here right now. So,
But it also goes back to your point of like, maybe talk to your person and you can set up some boundaries around it, because it's also like literally, I think there's been a lot of studies on this recently, but please don't cite me. I believe it like changes your brain, right? Like that, like interaction with screen time. And I even catch myself, like even recently, I'm like, I just need to delete my Instagram because I don't enjoy it. I'm not getting anything from it, but I'm like, oh, let me check it. Let me check it. And I like have this awareness that this is happening, that this like disconnect is happening, that I have like this craving to check it, but I also know that there's nothing on there for me. There's nothing on
exactly.
there for me. And so I think like you just need to talk to your people about it and set up some ground rules and some boundaries.
So, I definitely think that that's good. And I also think, like, cleansing from social media is important. I've done it a couple times where I've deleted all social media for like a month or so. And it's amazing how much you accomplish exercising, reading more books, like doing different things. Boundaries, we're going to have a whole podcast on boundaries, and I think that this will come up when we discuss it. So, but
Mhm.
just in general, I've realized that people's pet peeves, everyone's different, but at the same time, everyone can relate to everybody's pet peeves. Because as I read these lists and these entries, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, that's a good one. And I could relate to probably every single thing that everybody listed. You know what's funny to me though? Nobody said anything about burping or snoring or farting or like anything like the classic leave the toilet seat up. Like, nobody really said any of those types of things. It was all, I felt like it was either very surface level or very deep on these ones, you know? It was like, it was very interesting.
Yeah, and I think like as we've talked, I feel like for me it's been helpful to be like, oh, some things are a pet peeve, which is sort of a me problem, and some things are like more like deeper, which is more of a relationship
Oh,
problem, and that's really helpful to think about. Because I think if it's a pet peeve, you really need to think about like, is this I actually think like the scrolling, that's actually more of in my opinion, that's like more of a relationship dynamic boundary issue. It's actually to me less of a pet peeve. If the cabinet doors is like perfect and wonderful, and I love that that person's just like, I don't fucking care, I'll shut the cabinet door. So I just think it's also really interesting to think about like some of these examples, and then like not everything you need to act on. But I also think like the exercise of saying, oh, these are the things that annoy me can help me like think about what are the things that need work and what are the things that do not need work.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's good. And as you were saying this, I was trying to think like, I definitely have bigger pet peeves than the shoe thing. Like, I've been trying to think about other things that drive me crazy, and like coughing, like if somebody just coughed and coughed right out into the air like this, like, oh, I can't. Again, the teacher, like, put a little dab on it, cough or sneeze into your elbow. Be respectful, people.
Same with sneezing. When I
Yeah.
see people sneeze into their hands, I'm
And then
like,
they don't wash them.
it's
Ah.
2024. We know germs exist. I'm confused.
This I did a lesson back when I taught of showing my kids what happens with germs, and that you pretend to sneeze in your hands and you put glitter on it, and then the glitter was the germs, and then you go touch things throughout the classrooms, and then they can see that their germs are everywhere with glitter. I like
I love that.
I want to
Do it with
show,
adults.
yes, show adults this, like, please, come on. Just be not disgusting. So there's pet peeves, man. I could go on and on for days and days about this. And I just want to thank everybody for sharing all of their input with us, because it helped me realize that, one, I'm not alone on the things that I'm thinking and feeling. And two, realizing what you were just saying is that some of these things are definitely a me problem. And then some of them are a real problem that you actually have to have a conversation with your spouse about. But then, like the closing the cabinets, that's something I can handle on my own. And I'm just going to like walk in the kitchen and be annoyed and then just handle it. You know, there's relationships are all give and take, baby. That's what it is.
Yep, and I would even say like and this is even a challenge for me, why be annoyed? Because I guarantee there's something you do too that your person walks behind you and just goes, I'm just gonna do the equivalent of close the cabinet door, right? So it's like we all do it. It's fine. It's a universal experience.
And it just made me laugh because when Mike does something for me or like cleans up after me or something, he's like, just call me Cinderella. And like, you know, it just I gotta step it up, people. I've realized that my husband's my pet peeves are pretty minute compared to my husband's and everything he does. I realize. Again, I really hope he listens to this podcast episode because this was like a million gold stars and cookies for you, Michael.
And I think on the flip side of that, yes, and you're right. So Mike should listen to this and you should get brownie points. But also on the flip side, I'm so much pickier than Nick. When I asked him this, he literally was like, I don't know. Let me think about it. And then he was like, oh, I know. And then he gave me like the one thing, right? Which is what I shared. But otherwise, he's like so easygoing. He like just doesn't really care what I do or don't do, which is like kind of lovely. And it makes me realize that I'm a real pain in the ass at times.
But you know what's funny too is like Nick and I are both May babies. We're both Taurus. We're both stubborn. But I wonder if it's the difference of a female and a male. But also, I'm home all the time now too. So like Mike's pet peeves, I think they just trigger me differently because we're around each other so much more probably than you guys are. And
That's
just
true. No,
just
that's
the day to
definitely
day.
true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, Caitlin. Like I'm gonna say it again. Work in progress.
That's your mantra. Going
Yeah.
back to our episode last week, this is your New Year mantra.
New year, same Caitlin, just maybe needs to
Work
clean a little
in
bit more.
progress. The italicized underneath. Work in progress.
I love it. I love it. Well, this was a fun one. If you have a pet peeve that we didn't share about, please drop it in the comments or share it with us. Send us an email because I want to hear some more pet peeves. And I can't wait to see you next week for our next episode.
Love it. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, stop what you're doing right now and listen up. If you're feeling this podcast, then here's a few things we need from you. Find and follow us on Instagram at Solicited the Podcast. Rate and review this episode. Feel free to share with us anything you've got about these topics that we talk about. And email us anything you want us to talk about and cover, or any feedback you might have at solicitedthepodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you guys next week.